I grew up in a Christian home with two great parents and a brother that loves the Lord and always has. I was kind of the black sheep in the family. And in high school, I got connected into that wrong group and into the group that really just wanted to party and do just about anything that you can possibly think of that has to do with that. I was living for myself in a lot of ways. Music became a big thing, and it wasn't because I necessarily just loved music. It was because, I wanted people to know who I was. My motivation came from wanting to be noticed, looking for the world to define me, looking for friends to define me. My motivation in life was to figure out who I was. Went off to college my freshman year and had no idea what I was doing there, why I was there. It really was just to experience the freedom. So I came home from school, confused as all get out, not really having any idea who I was, what I wanted to do. Music was a focal point. It was April of 2010. I was over at a buddy's house, and we had been just kind of hanging out at his house, and we had gotten a phone call that there was going to be a party in North Nashville, and at the party we started drinking and hanging out for several hours, and after already being pulled over twice that night, I hopped in the car after I'd been heavily drinking, and I got maybe a mile down the road, and I was pulled over for speeding. I had to do the field sobriety test and everything that goes along with that, and I failed it. And after I was charged with driving under the influence, underage drinking, and alcohol paraphernalia in the car, I had my final court date. It was June 22nd, 2011, and sure enough, I was convicted on all of it, lost my license for a year, had to have 24 hours community service, had to go through all these different classes, had about $10,000 in fines, and then I had to do jail time. And then on the first day at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, I was sitting on my bunk reading a book, again, bored as all get out, and I started overhearing a conversation of this group of guys at the foot of my bed, and I came to find out that it was a Bible study that they do every day at 1 o'clock in this pod, and it just so happened to be at the foot of my bunk. They had a prayer time that there was one guy that would basically stand at the front. He was an inmate, but he would stand at the front and basically just take prayer requests. And they literally spent about 30 minutes both nights that I was there praying. And to hear these guys that are in the absolute worst of the worst moments in their lives having hope, and me not understanding where on earth that hope could possibly come from, was just moving. There is never a point where God cannot reach you. It's never too late. It's never too early. The one thing that I would say to somebody who is processing through a similar situation or struggling with something along the same lines would be just to let go. There's no better decision in your life to just humble yourself and surrender. Since I surrendered my life to Christ, it's been a roller coaster. I've been all over doing all kinds of different things that I never would have thought that I would be a part of. Ministry being one. Never in my life did I think that I would be working in full-time vocational ministry as a pastor. And to top it off, God's blessed me with an incredible wife. And a son on the way now. I think the verse that really hits home for me is Romans 1:16. I'm not ashamed. It's a challenge, but it challenges me to be bold and intentional with every conversation, every relationship that I have, whether it's with a student or with a parent or just with somebody I see on the street or wherever. It just challenges me to never be ashamed of what God's done in my life and to just be bold and be intentional.